Are you going to be okay? Stop making these 5 common mistakes when it comes to growing your roses. You will literally, not figuratively, literally kill these plants stone dead. No! Now, my first mistake is controversial, but I am correct about it. But if you want to argue about that in the comments, you're more than welcome to do so. My last mistake is to do with rose soil sickness. So if you're still planting roses in a place where a rose had already been planted, then you're good. You are the problem. So mistake number 1 of my 5 mistakes is to do with where you bury the root ball with regards to its graft. I know it's not a true graft. Roses are tea-budded. Little image there for you. But for the purposes of this, we're going to be talking about graft. And for the last 200 years, everybody agreed with me. And then 5 minutes ago, we've got a new idea. And now we're going to change it all. Well, if you are one of those people, you are totally on the naughty list. The graft on a plant is always a weak point. There will always be, although you try and do your very best, a mismatch of the 2 cambium layers. You'll get callousing. There can be some slight separation, and as such, a graft can also be an obvious infection point for fungal and bacterial diseases. As such, for the past 2 centuries, probably an awful lot longer, when you have a grafted plant, you always have your graft above ground level where it can be kept dry, reducing the risk of water mobile fungal infections and airborne bacterial infections. But no, recently there are some gardeners on the telly, some large producers of roses, I won't be mentioning David Austin's name, that would be unprofessional, who now insist you bury the whole root ball so deep that the graft itself is now buried several inches under the ground. And this is the reason they give for that. Burying the root ball along with the graft union reduces the incidence of suckers emerging from underneath the ground from the rootstock, and these will outcompete the actual selected cultivar that is grafted onto the rootstock, causing that to become stunted, diminished, and particularly weak. Furthermore, it is suggested that by sinking the root ball, you will be providing more support for the stem of the rose, reducing the risk of damage in the winter by windrock. But it's this last reason that I have an issue with, where it all starts to fall apart. And it's this: burying the graft encourages roots to be formed on the stem of your grafted cultivar section of your rose. Well, if it's that easy for roses to produce roots on their stems, then why not produce roses as cuttings rather than as tea buds on a rootstock? Well, obviously that means it's going to be a lot cheaper to produce. It's going to lose people money, especially some of the big corporations whose names will not be mentioned. Let me just show you one here. There you go. Here's a root cutting here, and oh my goodness, it's actually able to survive on its own root system. I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask they pay for them. So no, you don't actually have to propagate roses using tea budding onto a separate rootstock. You can actually quite easily propagate roses from their own cuttings onto their own roots. But the thing is, that isn't a very expensive way of production, and certain growers, they want to charge you the full whack. Now, the issue is this: if you bury the rootstock, you buried the graft, which is a weak point, then you are exposing it to soil-borne fungal infections, which they will get. Not all, but some will. This is one of the easiest ways to kill off your roses: burying the flipping graft. Oh my God. I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death. So, mistake number 2, if you've grown roses before or seen roses in other people's gardens, then you know that they are an absolute magnet for fungal infections, in particular black spot, which you literally see everywhere. You do also see a certain amount of mildew, but also quite a lot of rust, which you'll turn a leaf, it's going to be there. It's a horrible thing. Now, if you don't manage your black spot either by removing infected leaves or spraying a systemic fungicide that will get into the vascular system of the plant, travel all the way around it, killing off those nasty little fungal bodies that cause it, then the disease will continue to weaken and damage your plant year on year on year. But furthermore, and this is one of the big mistakes when it comes to producing roses, I will just let that plane pass over. Roses, as you know, are deciduous, so they will drop their leaves at the end of the year. The trouble is, infective leaves will also be harbouring spores, which come the spring. When the rain comes, the rain will patter on the leaves and it will throw up millions of spores of black spot, reinfecting your plant's fresh growth again. So this is the mistake to avoid. Firstly, don't forget to manage your black spot disease either by picking them off or spraying, and then don't forget to remove any of the old leaves that have fallen to the ground. Either rake them off, blow them off as unnecessary, but do what you need to do to reduce the incidence of reinfection come the spring, because if you don't do it, then over a number of periods of years the plant will become weakened and eventually it will succumb either to the black spot infection or a secondary infection which has been caused by the plant being weakened by your black spot. Mistake number 3 actually contains 2 mistakes, but because they're small mistakes, I wrap them together to make one big one. And can I just also mention that within this video I have added 3 Jurassic Park or Jurassic World quotes. 2 of them are going to be really obvious, one of them not so much. But if you find it, you know what to do. Put it in the comments, and the first one I find who has the right answer, I'm going to pin you to the top. Let's continue with rose death problem number 3. Part 1 of this is to do your due diligence first. Although last year many of the new rose hybrids that were coming out were pretty bad for their disease resistance, many of the selected cultivars that are grown this century are actually very good at their disease resistance. So you need to make sure that despite some of these old varieties being really, really popular, make sure that whenever you buy a rose, you cross-check it against how disease resistant it is. If you buy one with excellent disease resistance, well, you're not going to have any problems with diseases being passed on or affecting your plant. And now this is the second part. It's kind of related, which is why it's part 2. If you're going through your roses, pruning them, and you know some of these have diseases on them, then leave those diseased plants till last. Also, when you are cutting into diseased plants, especially roses, because they are prone to picking it up from everywhere, make sure you sterilize your blades either before or after you've cut into it. The thing is, if you take your secateurs, cut into an infected plant, because roses don't just have fungal infections, they also have some rather nasty viruses, also have rather nasty bacterial infections, as I mentioned earlier. You cut into the plant, you'll have infected sap on the blades, and the next thing you're going to do is cut into another plant with the infected sap, and that can transfer into that plant. So you're passing diseases from one to another to another. So the sterilization of secateurs is absolutely paramount, and also the order in which you cut your roses. Cut all the ones that don't have diseases first, cut all your diseased ones secondary. Very important information. Regarding sterilization, you can either use heat sterilization, waft your blades over a naked flame such as a gas hob, but if you haven't got a gas hob, because nowadays they're all illegal, then use something like a alcohol based product, like a rubbing alcohol. Wipe your blades down, let the alcohol do its job for 10 minutes, 20 minutes if you've got time for that, then wash it off, wipe it off, you're ready to go. So there you go. Choose disease resistant varieties. Be very careful in the order you cut your plants. Make sure you sterilize your blades. That's 3 parts for that one. Lucky you. Mistake number 4 is to do with where you plant your rose and what you're going to grow your rose in. Now, for most roses, you are going to need to provide an awful lot of light. You can't just plant it in a shady place, expecting your colourful, flowery rose to brighten it up. No, they need almost full sun all day. In fact, you are going to need to provide an absolute minimum of 6 hours of direct sunshine, our kid. Plant it in the shade and you'll have a weak, stunted, poorly flowering plant that is then more susceptible to picking up those common rose diseases. And now we're going to come to the soil. It needs to be nutritionally rich, so it's well worth digging in plenty of farmyard manure into the ground before you plant your rose. It also needs to be free draining, because you don't want waterlogged conditions with your roots, because the roots will suffer from root infections, because you get some root death and it will open up infection points. And it also needs to be permanently moist throughout the year. You can't let these plants dry out during a period of drought, which we get in this country almost every single year. You need to be on it. A rose plant that is subjected to drought, again, is a plant that can easily die off. So get all these things sorted. Check you got enough light. Check you have enough nutrition. Check that it's well drained and plenty of water. If you get all these things together, then no, your plant's not going to die. It's going to look absolutely flipping amazing. Hallelujah! Right, so about to hit mistake number 5 that could kill your plants. Before I do that, I'm just going to give you a little one. That little one is pruning at the wrong time. It's not going to kill your plant, but it could cause some problems. The time to prune most of your roses is either going to be in March, early spring, which is going to be for like your climbing plants, your hybrid teas, your floribundas, and then any of your roses that flower on the previous season's wood, like most of your shrub roses and also your rambler roses, you prune immediately after flowering, which could be like end of the spring, early summer. Don't be cutting these plants end of the summer, early autumn, because you'll get invigorated soft growth, and that soft growth is an absolute magnet for biting insects such as your aphids. Now, every time they bite into your plant, there is a risk that they are transferring diseases they picked up from biting into another plant. So these are disease vectors, and all you've done is cut your rose at the wrong time, produce this lovely soft sugary growth, and then it's just absolutely swamped on by aphids, all biting into it, all passing on their lovely diseases. But that's not the problem I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about rose soil sickness, otherwise known as replanting disease. It's a problem that has been known for literally centuries. We didn't know what caused it, but we knew it happened. When you have a old rose in your garden and it dies or just looks knackered and you take it out, but you think, do you know, it did look nice there once, I'm going to put another rose into it. No, no, you can't plant a new rose where an old rose was, so you would never do it. Yet for some reason, this valuable lesson, we keep forgetting it. But it's the same problem today as it was 200 years ago. You get a build-up of pests in the soil, and with regards to typical soil sickness, it is a nematode, a microorganism so small, some of them you can't even see with your naked eye. And that is why for the last 2 centuries, people didn't know what was causing it. But because we live in the modern age, now we do. Nematodes, never do it, because all you do, you put that rose in with that big lump of disease, they'll be straight on it, and then you've got another sick rose, which over time is going to die. Finally, those are my 5 mistakes you need to stop doing, otherwise you will kill off your roses. But of course, there are other things that will do the same thing. And if you've got any great advice, any other mistakes that can kill your roses, put that in the comments. We genuinely love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to support the channel by clicking the thumbs up. But also, if you want to be seeing more of these videos, click on the subscription. And if you don't click on the notification bell, YouTube sort of stops sending them out after a while, so you don't get to see the new videos. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you very much, and goodbye.